Iron Hands EX. You've been seeing it everywhere on Pokemon TCG Twitter, and I'm pretty sure you're already sick of this card, and it's not even out yet. So, recently, Pokemon decided, hey, you know what? Screw everything in the format that we've had recently. All this build-up, all this careful replanning of the meta to slow down the game just a little bit, and let's introduce a card that gives you extra prize cards. And everything will be all peachy. So, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but there's a lot to talk about in today's video. I know we're not doing the normal intro, but this is a serious issue with the Pokemon TCG, and I know it's going to sound a lot like I'm kind of doom posting, or I'm going to be just kind of blowing things out of proportion, and I'm here to tell you today that that's not really the case. Whereas, like, this card is going to be absolutely broken and is probably going to be a meta-defining card, there are still a few flaws with the card that we'll talk about today. But truly, this card, I believe, deserves every single bit of fear and concern that it's been generating over on Pokemon TCG Twitter. Do I think that it's Jake Gearhart freaking out over it level, where we're all gonna die? No, but do I think that this is going to ruin a good half the decks in the meta right now? Yes, very much so. So, let me elaborate here. Iron Hands EX is part of the Paradox Rift expansion, which will be coming out very soon. I completely forgot the release date, and I don't want to just randomly search it up in the middle of recording the video. But we're just going to talk about Iron Hands and why I think that this card is a little too overpowered, and it's a little too good for this current format, especially with what Pokemon's been trying to do. So, first off, let's just talk about Iron Hands EX as a Pokemon, and then we'll talk about kind of Paradox Rift and like what does Iron Hands mean for the future of the meta here. So Iron Hands EX is a basic EX with 230 HP, is an electric type, and it has two really good attacks. It has the Arm Press attack for 160 damage, 2 lightning and a colorless, which is fine. 160 is a good 2-shot on basically anything in the format. It one-shots Lugia. It just has a really good Lugia matchup, actually. Just like it is so favored against Lugia. But then we have the pretty well named, in my opinion, I do love the name of this attack, Amp You Very Much. If your opponent's active Pokemon, or if your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this attack, you get to take one more prize card. Now, there are definitely a lot of issues with Amp You Very Much, and I gotta say that I'm not too thrilled about this card. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, in a sense, like, yeah, I'm thrilled that we get a new card that gives us prize cards and it speeds up the game, but at the same time, everyone's gonna be playing Iron Hands EX. Now, if you saw my last video on Charizard EX, you know that, like, if something is stupid, like, brokenly powerful like this, like, that has an effect or a sort of combination of effects, like Charizard, you know it's gonna be everywhere. Now, a quick update on the Charizard video. It did age kind of poorly in a sense, in the fact that, like, it's now affordable and whatever. And I totally get if this video ages poorly, then that's my bad, and I'm fully willing to take the criticism and be able to say, hey, yeah, that video aged really poorly. Maybe Iron Hands just kind of sucks upon release. But for now, what we're looking at, Iron Hands is literally the future of this format, and it really scares a lot of people, and for good reason, in my opinion. So, Paradox Rift, I did make a tweet about Paradox Rift, like literally on day one. Paradox Rift day 1, we're screwed. That's what I said. Basically, Iron Hands kills off Gardevoir. It really, like, digs Gardevoir deep into the ground, because Gardevoir has to do so much damage to itself, and also single prize decks really take a hit, because 120 and 120 plus is a really easy number to hit nowadays, and so it really does make me concerned about kind of how Iron Hands will work. It does require It might require some damage modifiers, but it has so many damage modifiers to the point where, like, there is no way that Iron Hands is not going to be able to get the knockouts that you want. Actually, I did make a tweet about this. I'm sorry, I'm kind of scrolling through my own Twitter page here, but there are multiple ways you can get Amp You Very Much to do more damage, and there are still more. But we have Zapdos from Pokemon Go to do 10 more damage. We have Regieleki VMAX to do 30 more damage. We have Future Booster Capsule Energy. I think it's a really mouthful of a name. But we also have this, which gives them Iron Hands free retreat cost, which it has 4 of. And then it gives it plus 20 damage, which is just stupid. And then we got Choice Belt. So, like, Iron Hands really does have everything going for it, and it's creating a lot of buzz on the Pokemon TCG Twitter, and everyone kind of doom posting about it. And I totally get it. In fact, fellow YouTuber Pablo Meza Tablemon, literally just 3 hours before I started recording this video, made a video called The Problem with Iron Hands EX. It's a very good video. I recommend that you go watch it. It is so much better in quality compared to my video. I know that, but I just wanted to put my thoughts out there about Iron Hands, and we're going to keep talking about it, but I just want to quickly shout out Pablo for making this amazingly edited video, and that you guys should definitely go check it out if you haven't already. But so where really does Iron Hands become a problem? I know I've mentioned, like, it's a really game-changing card. It's meta-defining, and, like, what does that ultimately mean for the format? Now, Iron Hands does 120 for 4 energy is terrible, but, like, the one more prize card effect is absolutely broken, especially in a meta game where it's trying to slow down. So we'll talk about kind of why this is an issue, and part of it has to do with how easy Iron Hands has energy acceleration available to it. You can actually play Iron Hands in pretty much anything, as long as you can put 1 electric energy on it. You can play this in Lugia, you can play this in Qianpao, you can play this in Miraidon, which is what most people are going to do, and then you can even play in stuff like freaking Charizard EX, and you can be fine and dandy with it. It has so many different options because it has 3 colorless energy in the Amp You Very Much attacks cost, which is just really dumb in my opinion. They should have made this 2 electric energy and then 2 colorless, because that would be a little bit tougher to set up, and you'd see Iron Hands mostly only in things like Miraidon. But the fact that, like, you can throw this into any deck and just kind of have this as an option in any deck is just really concerning. A lot of people have been saying that, like, Qianpao has a good synergy with Iron Hands because you can use the Baxcalibur line to be able to Shivery Chill a whole bunch of water energies onto Iron Hands. Then you manually attach your electric energy, and suddenly you're about to take extra prize cards by using Amp You Very Much. So it's a very concerning sort of how playable this card is, and I'm pretty sure that, like, almost every single, I guess not every single, but, like, a good number of the new Paradox Pokemon, the Ancient and Future Pokemon, are all pretty broken, in my opinion. Like, all the new Future and Ancient cards are pretty broken. They're stupidly overpowered in some cases, and, like, part of that's fine, but when you have so much good synergy with a game-changing card like Iron Hands, it becomes a real big issue. So why does 1 more prize card matter in the Pokemon TCG right now? Well, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the game has really started to take a quote-unquote slow-down approach, which is partially true, partially not true. The game has mainly been focusing on Pokemon EX. Mainly the good decks right now are Evolution Pokemon EX. You have things like Gardevoir EX, you have Charizard EX, that sort of stuff, where it relies on you slowly setting up from 1 prizers all the way like slowly setting up your board with one prizers that are susceptible to getting attacked by things like Lost Box and kind of the kind of spread things, which are already EX decks that have to evolve into like stage 2s or whatever. They can struggle, and Iron Hands being available as early as turn 1 if you're playing this in Miraidon is really concerning, because you could go like, oh, look at that, you have a Charmander in the active spot, or you have like a Ralts in the active spot. Let me amp you very much, take 2 prize cards from your Ralts, and all of a sudden your game just became twice as good. Your prize trade is just twice as good as your opponent's. And because Iron Hands is only a 2-prizer and it has a whopping 230 HP, it becomes a really big issue in regards to like it's just a really big issue in regards to like trying to return the KO. Like things like Mew VMAX, which Mew is, I hate to say it, but Mew is slowly starting to back out over time. Like, I just won a regionals, I know, and I joked about it again because like Mew is still my favorite deck. Mew like struggles to respond to these like new EXs, and a lot of those a lot of older cards are starting to struggle, like VMAXs and V-Stars specifically are starting to struggle against EXs, because EXs are only 2 prizes and they have high amounts of HP, and it makes it really difficult to one-shot them. Like 230 is just out of range of things like Duraludon VMAX, which is already like Duraludon's gone basically, because the meta has shifted back to sort of a basic energy sort of style. So it becomes really concerning. High HP, taking 1 more prize card against vulnerable 1-prizers. This also does mediate the Lost Box matchup. Lost Box itself actually can use Iron Hands, but it does make the Lost Box matchup a little bit more manageable in cases like Miraidon or whatever, which is okay. Like, that's a good example of like Lost Box has been the best deck in format for a very long time. So, or like a Lost Box variant. So I'm okay with the fact that you can take 2 prizes against Lost Box. It's frustrating as someone who's been playing like Lost Box Gudra as my main deck. It is concerning in the fact that like, oh my gosh, my Comfeys can become 2 prize Pokemon for my opponent. But I think in the sense of like in a Lost Box matchup, it's okay, because Lost Box has had way too long. It has been in the spotlight for a very long time, and it's just everywhere. Like every single stream game you watch, in tournaments and whatever, it's like Lost Box. So I'm okay with that. But one of the biggest issues with Iron Hands is that all of a sudden it starts shutting down popular support engines. And not just the single prize support engines, but also the V and EX support engines. You have things like Squawkabilly EX and you have Luminion V, both of which are weak to electric types, meaning that you can amp you very much your opponent's Luminion V or Squawkabilly EX for 3 prizes, and then if you play Echoing Horn Boss's Orders and get it back up into the active spot, you win the game in 2 attacks, which is just really dumb. Like, that there should be no reason that someone should be able to go, okay, let me just gust up your vulnerable 2-prize Pokemon, which is supposed to be specifically 2 prizes, as a sort of risk-reward factor, meaning that, okay, you put down something to get a supporter card, or you put down something to discard your hand and draw 6 on the first turn. There's a risk that you're gonna lose 2 prizes to your opponent, because that's kind of just how that risk-reward thing goes. But now with Iron Hands, and especially with the typing, Ambu very much allows that Iron Hands to take a KO on them for half their prize cards. So it just becomes a very unfair situation very quickly, and I think that like just the way that we have more Evolution EX decks coming in Paradox Rift, we have more different options for these decks, but it becomes a really big and concerning issue when you just see that half the meta is about to be shut off by Iron Hands EX. And I think, yes, Kingish King made a post about this Technical Machine de-evolution, which is also going to be probably paired with Iron Hands in some cases. This is a bit of a stretch. This is a bit of a shaky analogy, but Technical Machine de-evolution, de-evolve all of your opponent's evolved Pokemon by putting the highest stage evolution card on them into their hand. There are so many issues with this card and with a lot of cards in Paradox Rift, and that is because like this kills decks that rely on rare candy, because those rare candies are gone, you can't get them back, and then you can use Iron Hands on those. Now let's say you're facing off against like Charizard EX, which I already talked about and I already said is a really broken card, but think about, like, let's say I have 3, or if I have, realistically, I'm going to have 2 Charizard EX in play. That's kind of the normal amount of Charizards. And let's say I've used 3 of my rare candies, 1 for both Charizard EXs, and then 1 for the Pidgeot EX that's on my bench. Now imagine that you get Technical Machine de-evolutioned, and all of a sudden now you only have 1 rare candy left, and you have so many vulnerable 1-prizers available, right for the picking. Just think about that. Now think, with all those 1-prizers, what can my opponent do? Oh, I know, they're gonna Iron Hands me, and you very much, and start taking 2 prizes on my useless and weakling single prize Pokemon. They're gonna knock out my Charmanders and my Pidgeys for 2 prizes apiece. This also kills off any sort of deck, any sort of single prize deck that Pokemon keeps making. Like they made United Wings. They try to bring back the sort of Night March, Lost March thing to little success, and now that Iron Hands is here, it makes everything 20 times worse. I would not recommend playing United Wings in this sort of format, just because of how stupidly powerful taking in extra prizes, especially against low HP basics. But overall, yeah, I'm not going to keep trying to repeat myself about Iron Hands, because it's just a dumb card. At the end of the day, it's a poorly designed card, in my opinion. It's not the end of the world. In some cases, like, it could be very heavily countered. It could, there could be some sort of answer to Iron Hands, and because of its high attack costs and low damage output, it doesn't work in every scenario. But I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to kind of talk about Iron Hands down in the comments, because this is a very debatable card on how successful it's going to be. So I'll leave it up to you guys. Again, I know this is my opinion. I welcome criticism. I'm open to it, and I'd really like to hear your thoughts about it. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you guys liked hearing me rant about Iron Hands EX, consider subscribing. We've actually been getting a lot of subscribers on the channel lately, so thank you for that. And consider liking the video. Because, I mean, you get to hear me talk for, like, 10 or 15 minutes for this video, but consider liking the video, comment down below what you think about Iron Hands, and yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, God bless, have fun, we'll see you out there, and we'll see you next time. Thank you all so much for watching.